Good morning, welcome to Walking Slowly Downhill. Today's readings still from a rest time in Melbourne, 84th day. Today is my grandson's 6th birthday. His name is Domenico. Like me, he was also born on the 5th of the month. Domenico has been abbreviated to the name's Italian diminutive of Mimmo, and Mimmo has been abbreviated to Mim. Each time we see each other, I ask him, Mim, how many? The question refers to how many Domenicos there might be in our lives. He replies in a more mock-bored tone, two, his voice trailing off at the end as it might when one answers a question about the weather. But secretly I know that he loves this ritual between us. It bonds us through name and through much else. I was also called Mimmo when I was a child, though never Mim. I wish I could see him today, but I must stay elsewhere, namely here in Clifton Hill with my daughter. Last week he lost his front tooth and another sprouted in its place, taking its place, it seems, almost instantaneously. I remember his first birthday gathering on the lawns of Heidi Museum. A joyous family day spent running and playing, kicking the footy and laughing. All happiness, it seemed, lay ahead of us. Though the span of his brief life has encompassed a turbulent 6 years, for many of us that promise still lies ahead, as it most certainly does for him. I can't remember anything of my own 6th birthday or of anything that happened during that 1953 Trieste spring, except for this: the sweet fragrance of bluebells mixed alchemically with the salty smell of the sea moss that encrusted itself around the waterline of the stone pier. And now another. However green that sea was, greener still was the sea moss, luminescent and blinding white with the sun-blanched stones, blood red each sunset. The 85th day, still in Melbourne. Today is St. Nicholas Day, the patron saint of Italian children and the mysterious visitor that comes overnight and leaves presents for all good children, so that when they wake on the morning of the 6th of December, where they all are lined up on the windowsill or on the kitchen table or under one's pillow, what do I remember that St. Nicholas falls today? I have no memories of receiving presents on this day in Trieste, but I do still remember how excited I got as a child at the idea that a saintly visitor might be gracing our room with his presence, astonished by the mystery of him doing so without forcing the door. These were the questions that preoccupied me as a child, even though I somehow understood after the age of 5 or so that it was actually parents and grandparents who gave children presents, though always in the name of St. Nicholas. But it made no difference to me because I felt that love and care were not diminished by his absence. So what do I remember of this day in Melbourne? It's December 6, 1956, and I'm standing in the early summer sunshine in Smith Street, Collingwood, in front of a brightly coloured coal store. I'm 9 years old, and my mother, who is 30 years old, stands next to me. She's speaking with another young woman from Trieste. I know this because the conversation that is taking place is spoken in our dialect. They're talking about St. Nicholas Day, how it seems to be ignored by everyone in Smith Street. No one seems to want to celebrate it. My mother suggests that perhaps no one knows about it here in Australia. Her friend agrees. I'm waiting in silence to see if the conversation will include a description of what presents my sister and I might receive, though it's already way past the giving time. I especially try to listen hard for whispered conspirational conversations that might include descriptions of tiny toys, but there are none. That's all. The two young women then exchange goodbyes, and the three of us are on our way, heading together towards Gertrude Street. So, I now realise, this is an amusing memory, a memory of something that didn't happen, of a present my sister and I didn't receive, of an empty space on a windowsill. But there is a tiny fragment of light in all this, a redemptive ray shining from the eyes of St. Nicholas, who I then believed was watching the three of us from the cornice high above Foy's furniture store as we walked along Smith Street all the way from Coles back home to number 35. I remember that as he watched, he whispered to me a soothing reminder that the present I had always most valued was simply the mystery of his presence. And even though this was far away Australia, here I am, he affirmed jovially, high above Smith Street, watching you. At that moment, the glow of connection suddenly bridged, via his shining eyes, the life I had left behind in Trieste to one I had so abruptly taken up. A connection revealing emptiness to be simply inexplicable sweetness. Inexplicable that the empty windowsill of a first-floor room in Trieste was now suddenly connected to the empty windowsill of a room in Melbourne. Perhaps to all of the empty windowsills of all the rooms I would ever live in. And what of the sweetness? The difficulty of our unexpected, unmanageable departure was at that moment finally transformed into the redemptive acceptance of a definitive arrival. This was no small gift, handed to my sister and I with glowing love on the very day of his first celebration since our arrival. From that day, emptiness has always appeared to me as an abundance waiting to be gifted. Of this gift I am reminded, without fail, on each December 6th. Which is not far away now, less than a month. And even at this late stage of my life, I await each December 6th with anticipation. The anticipation one might have when waiting for a non-gift. Empty, full, quiet, loud, all those paradoxes that define our lives. Until tomorrow.